Facility managers in charge of mission-critical facilities are under pressure to keep these buildings running 24/7. Any downtime can have serious ramifications on business and operations. Hi, I'm Dan Welton, Editor-in-Chief for the Facilities Market. I'm here with Steve Smith, Director of Physical IT Network for Arvis Bank Operations. Today we're talking about data center resiliency. Steve, what is the most common reason for downtime, and how are you preventing against it?
In a data center environment, generally the most common reason for downtime is people. The best way to combat that is to help them be consistent and repeatable every time. We use what we call a MOP, or a method of procedure. Some people call it a method and procedure, or MAP, that details out all the steps that you would use in a given operation in a facility, and everybody agrees on those before you start work. If anyone has a concern with any of the steps, everybody always has the opportunity to say, okay, time out. I've got an issue with this. I think this could potentially go wrong in this way. And additionally, anything that is a concern without a solution is a complaint. So we try to fix that by having some kind of proposed solutions as you go along. But if you can come up with a MOP that everybody agrees to and everybody feels like is the right thing to do, and then you follow that step by step, the MOP keeps you safe. The MOP keeps you employed because everybody all the way through leadership has agreed that this is the way we're going to do it. And it makes everybody safer. There's no unintended circumstances from somebody unless they step outside of that bound that makes a siloed decision. Problems happen, and then that creates issues. As long as everybody sticks to the plan and stays with the program, you're generally as safe as you can get.
The pandemic was a recent challenge that we're finally coming out of. Do you have predictions on what challenges you're going to see in 2023 and beyond, and how are you future-proofing your facilities against it?
I am beginning to see people coming back. Now, they were not mandated in our organization to come back, but in the early days of the pandemic, we'd be lucky if the parking lots at the home office facilities were maybe 10% full. Since everything has begun to re-normalize over the past year or so, the parking lot gets a little more full every week. People seem to be missing that interaction with others, and it's really hard to get the same level of innovation and collaboration when you're just not in person. Now, there's two factions to that group. Some people say if I have to come in, I'm going to find other employment, and they're very centered in the remote work, and they really like it. Some people really miss the human touch, the personal interaction with other folks. So we are seeing that return. So we have to be very careful about facility planning and how do we make sure we've got enough seating for when those people do come back, and make sure, of course, that the facilities are up to standard and ready to accommodate them when they come in.
If something did go wrong, the choke supply chain may prevent you from getting the equipment you need. How are you managing supply chain challenges today?
We've gone back and revisited all of our critical spares on hand lists, whether it's generator components, HVAC components, critical cooling. And it's not that we have increased dramatically the volume of on-hands and therefore the expense in that inventory, but taking a closer look at what's the lead time on a lot of common components that maybe is really different now that wasn't before. In the past, you might keep a compressor and a fan motor on the shelf because those usually took a little bit to get, but you could get a control card, for instance, overnight. With the chip shortage, that's not the case anymore. So maybe you need to add a control card or look at your electronics inventory and make sure that the things that are long lead, that you might have one of those on hand. It's going to vary building by building and based on the equipment and materials that you might need, but certainly belts, hoses, things like that are always going to be relatively inexpensive and easy to keep on hand. But just a revisit of your critical spares and making sure that you're accurate in what really is a long lead time item now, because that has changed.
Well, great. Thanks for joining me today, Steve, and thank you for watching.